away from graduation. A month from this day, we go home. Home. Most of you are imagining a place filled with familiar faces. Parents, family, friends, back in a place you know. To most, the word home is automatically singular. If your parents are separated like mine, do you have two homes or none? Where are you from is often one of the first questions we ask strangers. Home is an extension of our identity. It is a symbol of support, stability, privacy, and security. It's where your family is, and it's the people you know best. It's a place you can count on to feed you, to shelter you, and to give you internet. I still remember moving to New Zealand 9 years ago. It was a small town called Blockhouse Bay. I didn't know it back then, but that move coincided with my parents' divorce. The first day, it was just me, my dad, and my grandmother. We didn't have furniture yet, so we used a box as our table. Our plates and silverware didn't match. The next day, I went to school, Hilltop School. But back then, I didn't even know the English alphabet. I sat in class, on the floor, off to the side, not understanding a thing. White people, just think about the last time you were surrounded by Asians. I would go back to my house, but it was mostly empty. That was not home. Even after a few months, I was ready to leave, to go back to Korea. Eventually, my father moved back to Korea, and my grandparents moved to New Zealand just to raise me. After a few years, we knew where the flea market was. We knew all the town gossip. We knew who the crazy people were. We became a part of the Korean community in Auckland, and my grandparents and I had people we could count on. It was becoming home. Believe it or not, I had friends in middle school. One of them is Linda Lee. Remember that name, Linda Lee. When I was 12, I began my first year in high school. And yes, Zach Trey can be quiet now because I've been in high school for 6 years. But no, I'm not an old man like Toby. I met new people and began to expand my comfort zone in New Zealand to beyond my neighborhood. Other than the fact that I went straight from dividing numbers to quadratic equations, school was fun. There's another name to remember. My first Indian friend, Tushar Gar. At that point, I could answer with certainty the question, where is home? I would have said, 2H Alpers Avenue, Epsom, Auckland. I was comfortable in New Zealand, and I could see myself living there forever. After only 2 years there, everything I was used to broke down. My grandparents moved back to Korea, and I was put in a boarding school, Auckland International College, in New Zealand. Until school started, I stayed in Seoul with my mom, who I hadn't seen much until then. I still stay with her when I go back to Korea, and that's why my answer to where are you from will either be Seoul or Suwon, where my dad lives. My first boarding school changed my lifestyle completely. Trust me, Portsmouth Abbey is not like prison. Auckland International College was a single building. No activities, just study. It was like a prison and not a home. We depended on one another to make it tolerable. But I was again, ready to leave New Zealand, though it was not an easy decision after 6 years. Somehow I knew that it was time to leave my comfort zone and go for something beyond just academics. America. I've been watching CSI since I was 8, so America was a scary place. I thought I'd either get shot or get sued, but I came to the Abbey, and here I was again, not knowing anyone, not even knowing exactly where I was. I thought Rhode Island was an island. The first day I arrived, I got out of the taxi by the art building. I had no clue where my dorm was. The campus seemed so big, and I felt stranded. I didn't know what was beyond that empty space between St. Bennett's and the gym. This wasn't home yet. Now, 3 years later, the campus seems so small. And the last of the 3 names is Christian Barcenas. What I didn't tell you is that back when I was still in that boarding school in New Zealand, when my home disappeared, I missed my grandparents so much that I could cry just from hearing their voices on the phone. I avoided calling just to keep my sanity. Every time I went back to Korea during breaks, I knew that I couldn't live with my grandparents in the countryside. I knew that my father didn't want me living in his new home with my stepmom and my baby stepbrother. I knew that my mother's husband didn't feel comfortable with me in his new home. I knew that I couldn't move back to New Zealand with my grandparents. I knew that I didn't belong anywhere. There was no home for me. But that's not true. There's a saying that hindsight is 20/20. I didn't know anything. I know now that my mom always wanted to be there for me, but couldn't. I know now that my dad wasn't trying to abandon me. He was trying to make the best decisions he could because I couldn't do it for myself. I know now that my stepmom and my mom's husband weren't trying to keep me away. And most importantly, I know now that I can rely on any of them. Although I still couldn't tell you exactly which one is home, I can tell you that home was always there. From my experience, feeling at home is all about connecting with people. From my time here, I learned that independence is different from not belonging anywhere. It is easier to become independent if you feel connected and at home. Comfort comes from knowing the place, knowing the people, and being able to trust and rely on them. Once you graduate from here, you will know someone in almost every major city on earth. Because of that, I know I can go anywhere. This fall, I go to college. Remember the 3 names, Linda from middle school, Tashar from Auckland, and Christian from here? By some strange fate, we meet again at Penn. It is uncanny that my friends from every stage of my life have all converged in that one place. With only a month left, I appreciate the Abbey because in some ways it has become home to me. And I will carry it with me in my heart, just like my other homes. And I know our paths will converge again. Thank you.